let's go ahead and start with this. Thank you for being on the podcast. And I really appreciate you being on as well as you, Marianne. And you'll get a chance to introduce yourselves in a bit. But the passport bros,
yes.
I don't know if that's the proper term that we would like to use, or maybe it's an informal word to use, has been a very popular trending topic over the past, I'd say, if I'm using TikTok as reference, maybe the past 6 months to a year.
Yeah.
And I knew very little about it. I'm a 45-year-old man. I like to give young men advice, people going through marriage, divorce, things like that. And there's a lot to it. So you, Sir Austin, you said you're unofficially, but people have called you the original passport bro who started this whole movement. Is that correct?
People have called me that. Yes. I've been called king of the passport bros too, but I definitely do not consider myself that. I believe, because I was doing this for 3 years beforehand, and I believe the movement started and they picked me up along the way. So I'm like a surfer on the wave. I'm not the wave itself. So there's still a lot about passport bros that I don't know. But I mean, I started only seeing this about 6 months ago, but I definitely see it picking up traction. I didn't see big name podcasts even start mentioning it until a few months ago. And I really feel like this conversation is going to be had more and more this year about passport.
Gotcha. And for those who don't know, Austin and Marianne, if you'd like to give your advice or maybe definition as well, what is a passport bro for those who are listening and don't know what that is?
Okay, so this term was news to me too, but I've heard that it's an American guy going abroad, usually to, countries like that are poorer than America, to find traditional wives. For women. So they're using their passport as a power kind of token to attract women from overseas. That's what I've heard. But yeah, I'm not very familiar with the terms.
Okay. Well, thank you. And Austin, what's your definition of that? Is it similar to Marianne's?
It's similar, but I don't think necessarily that it's always a poorer country. And that's one thing that I feel like, here, my definition of a passport bro, let me get that first, is someone who is willing to relocate to give themselves the best chance of finding a partner they can see a long-term relationship with. And that can do with a lot of like culture, a lot of society things. And I believe there are women as well who are willing to relocate to find someone who matches their views. I know Marianne was talking about there are some women who actually would like to go west to find someone who's less traditional. And there's a lot of men who would like to go to other countries to find someone who's a little bit more traditional. But I think right now the passport bros definitely have a stigma. And I would like to sort of explain it in depth to make it a little bit less jarring or like sound a little bit less harsh on the passport bro movement, I'd say.
Okay. And for those who are listening, where are you both located right now?
We're in I'm in Seoul, and this is my office.
Okay.
So.
Seoul, South Korea.
But South Korea, that's so cool. Again, I'm sorry, I don't know what the time zone difference is. I don't know if it's 1 a.m. or 4 a.m. in the morning, but again, thank you for doing this.
Yeah, 2:30 a.m. actually.
Oh my God, that's crazy. But Austin, I have to admit, I'm as an older man, I'm very impressed with you so far because, yes, there is a stigma with the passport bros and a lot of the encounters. And again, I think a little bit is maybe initiated on my part because what I knew of it, and it's unfair because whenever there's a group of people, it's unfair, and I'll admit this, I'll call myself out, it's unfair to acknowledge that group with just the viral videos you see. And place judgment on the viral videos because there's always the extreme right over here, but then there's the middle of the people who are like, normal, so to speak. Like that can be political, religious, it could be many things, right? So with you are very well spoken, well put together, and you seem like a charming young man. And I love that because I'll admit you're the first one that I've encountered who has those nice attributes, man. And I'm like, okay, this makes sense. I would love to talk to him and learn more about it. So when did you start this? You said 3 years ago, but was it your goal to find a traditional woman that had you go about doing this, or just learning about other cultures? And
I think honestly, I'm saying I'm a passport bro, but I'm not looking for. When it's time for me to settle down, I will be willing to live or change locations to find a partner that would best fit my needs. But right now, I got started because I worked really hard and I was able to reach this point in my life where I could travel full time. And so I'm sort of owing that to myself right now. And I'm on my, vacation phase. So I'm not necessarily looking for a traditional wife at this time, or even a partner at this time, but I'm single. And so when I started traveling, I would meet people out at bars and meet people while traveling. And I would want, someone to show me around and show me the culture. And I found no better way than, go on a date and have them show you something special about their country.
Yeah, that's amazing. How old are you, if you don't mind?
I'm 31.
31. Okay, so you're still a young man. You're not married, no kids, and you're having fun, which is great. So
yeah.
That's what one should be doing before getting married at 23 or something like that. So I love that you're putting yourself out there and just learning other cultures and other experiences. What are some of the stigmas that you've heard about passport bros that you feel that are false?
Yeah, well, Marianne said it as well. Like, also, like I said, this is a new movement, and I am not the movement itself. I think if I start saying they're this and they define themselves as that, then I will get left behind, sort of thing. And it is a lot of, and it's true. Marianne's saying the truth, that it's like a lot of going to countries where your money goes farther. And so if you make $60,000 a year and you go to Colombia, it feels like you're making $180,000 a year. And it is really leveraging that. Me personally, I don't know if you could speak on this, Marianne, or you more. I don't see a huge problem with that if you treat the women with respect and treat them like you would any other woman, take them all on nice dates. Don't abuse it.
Yes.
Because there are people making $300,000 in the States that have the same sort of power dynamic, or there are companies that leverage that all the time as well. I think you just have to be very careful with how you treat these people and not to abuse it, I would say.
I hear you. And Marianne, what are some of the stigmas that you've seen, or maybe in real life, have you seen I guess an increase of American men going to these countries, and are they being respectful? But what have you seen on your side from your perspective?
I think this whole conversation I've recently had with Austin, and I was saying, whatever these American guys are looking for, and for women too, they're looking for different things. So, for example, for some women, appearance might be really important. For some women, money might be important. For some women, maybe how tall you are is really important. And actually in Korea, we have marriage companies that, specifically ask and pay a lot of money. And it's a really popular thing. And look, when you're looking for a partner, and whatever that anybody's looking for, whether it's money, whether it's, even I was telling Austin, what's wrong with, if that is one of the important factor for some people.
Right. Like if that's your preference, what's wrong with that, right?
Yeah. It's just like somebody liking somebody for personality, or, so in Korea, that's fine, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's a stigma, as much of a stigma against it. Because I think even in America, there's a stigma against liking Asian women. They'd call you kind of like, there's like, oh, he's got yellow fever, or he's fetishizing, you know what I mean? But I feel like in Korea, I don't know if you guys feel that.
But wouldn't they also say, I prefer guys with brown hair, or
yeah, it's true. Yeah.
Blue eyes, or
blonde hair, blue eyes is big. Yeah, tall, blonde hair, blue eyes. Yeah. So I guess
women in Korea love a man with blue hair and blonde eyes. Is that it?
It depends.
I'd say a lot do. Well, you could probably talk about it.
Yeah, I think it really depends. I think Korean women, they like. I was talking to Austin about it. Would they be up for dating blue-eyed blonde men? And then the answer is yes, or he's handsome, but no, not for marriage.
Gotcha. This is the first time hearing about this. So in Korea, there's marriage companies. So is that the equivalent, I guess, of like a dating app, but just not at a larger scale, where you hire somebody to find a mate?
Yeah. So dating, it works exactly the same way as dating app, but it's a real company. But then the dating apps are so badly perceived in Korea. You're not advised using it, and you'll find a lot of Korean guys do not take it seriously, and a lot of Western girls actually do get hurt by using these apps. if they are really seriously looking for a partner and they can't meet through mutual friends, because we have this really big thing, a blind date arranged specifically from mutual friends, if they can't find anybody, they will go through marriage companies. And what's so different about these marriage companies is you have to prove everything. So you have to talk about your height, weight, your annual income, but you can't just write it down. You have to have the bank account details. So,
Whoa, you like provide like banking statements
and also
all these other things. It's like a mortgage.
Yeah, you have to actually provide your health certificate too, and also talk about what your parents do, whether your parents are divorced or how much money your parents have, or inherit everything, and they match.
Gotcha. That is that's
really
that's interesting. I've never heard of that, but it's very in depth. That's awesome. And is the success rate, let's say for those who do match up and actually meet, is there like a divorce rate or fallout percentage with the couples that meet, or are they all successful?
I know that 1 year, like 500 couples got married. These companies are, I think, apparently expensive too, because they arrange everything. They choose the cafe, they choose the restaurant, everything. You just have to turn up.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and women will ask for like, I want a doctor or I want a lawyer, and then the men will be like, I want somebody that's aged below 25, or who wants to be a housewife, or etc. You talk about all these things, including like the blood types, all the smallest thing that in the West you'll be like, what? Like, it's really popular. There's a really big ad.
I think it's refreshing that you're like straight up with what you say, because I feel like sometimes in the West you have to be a little bit reserved, right? Like we can't say I want a woman under the age of 25 or we'll get flamed. Like people would be like, women will get mad, everyone will get mad. We can't have those requirements, even though maybe subconsciously we do, but we can't be as forward about it.
I think even in Korea, I think even in Korea, like men won't say, "Oh, I want young,"
Yeah.
But really, like,
and that's something new. Like as an older man, I see like everybody has preferences. And if you voice them and people get offended, what the hell are they getting offended for? I don't understand that. So I get what you're saying, Austin. Is like you can't be vocal. Women can be. There's like a double standard here in the States. Women can be vocal and say they want 6 figures, 6 abs, 6 figures. They know that whole 3 6s thing. I don't even know it. But they can say that, but men can't say they want an attractive, fit woman, because then, we're body shaming. And, we're like something phobic, whatever phobic is recent or trending, we're that. So we can, in essence, get canceled. It's so stupid over here sometimes.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, you guys.
Yeah, it's bad. It's so bad sometimes. But one more question for Marianne. Actually, got a lot more for both of you. But Marianne, are there any, I guess, other people in Korea or any like stereotypes or people like perceive American men coming looking for a mate to your country? Do they look at them in a negative way? Because I did see a TikTok, and again, how factual is TikTok? I don't know. But apparently in Japan, women are calling American men who are going to their country to look for a mate, losers back home is what they're calling them. And I've seen that trending video. Is there any stigma like that for American men going to Korea?
I don't think so. I haven't heard about that yet.
Okay.
I feel like that's out of caution, because I also talk about this in my TikTok. Some red flags in America, Asian women won't be able to tell. Some red flags for Korean guys, Western women won't be able to tell. Hence, there's why there's so many heartbreaks, etc. I think the reputation about the military, army, U.S. military, they have a reputation.
Yeah.
That's why some foreigners aren't allowed in clubs. Because of the military.
Really? Okay.
You will get turned away at a club.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting. Now back to the Passport Bros. Austin.
Sure.
Like this has been my experience with them, because again, what I knew of a Passport Bro was a man who had zero success with American women. He thinks all Western women are trash.
Mm-hmm.
All of them are trash. As multicultural as the U.S. is, we're all trash over here because they're all modernized.
Yeah.
And they have this bitterness and resentment toward American women that they're just going overseas to find women. And it's kind of like yeah, you didn't give us what we want. Now you lost out, honey. Now we're going to go over here. Like the joke's on you. It's kind of like this spiteful movement. But how I got, I guess, hate. I got a lot of hate on my channel because of a comment I made. And I'll explain what it was. I don't like you are a well-rounded young man. I can tell already. You make a great first impression. So you're fine. Not that it's not you need permission from me to do anything, but you're fine. But it's the young men that I'm seeing that are just bashing American women, bashing modern women, saying they're trash. You know, I'm not going to waste my time. I'm going overseas. But it's the insulting piece. And again, they have a lot of resentment. And I said, if you have a problem getting dates, I don't care where you go. The problem's you. If you're just an angry, resentful person and you had zero successful dating life in the States, more than likely that's going to carry over elsewhere because that's kind of like a you problem. And I got attacked saying I was a beta simp. I don't even know what simp means anymore.
It does sound like
like I thought simp was one thing, but I'm a beta simp. And I'm like, no, I'm just saying if you had zero success in the US, that doesn't mean all the women are trash. That means maybe you got to level up and just improve your game. Maybe you need to wear better clothes, lose weight, something, but just work on you before bashing an entire demographic. So it's those guys I've encountered that insulted me. And the ones that had left comments are the ones who are saying that. So what are your thoughts on that? That with those guys going out there saying all American women are trash?
Yeah, I think it's one of the things where like the most viral opinion is that. I think like a lot of passport bros don't necessarily think that, but the ones who go viral definitely do. But I think you can agree with me as well. There is a toxic culture between men and women developing in the States. So I have sisters. Yeah. I don't think all American women are trash. You know, like I have sisters in the same age group, but I feel like there are some toxic cultural things that are really going on in the States. Like you're saying, there's a lot of double standards. And I honestly believe this is just the growing pains and the pendulum will eventually come back. And I think the passport bro movement is part of the pendulum swinging the other way sort of, you know, we won't put up with necessarily all the double standards. You have to be 6 figures. You have to be 6 foot. And sort of what happened is passport bros rose out of this environment in the States where I think social media allows you to approach 1,000 women if you wanted to, and dating apps, you can just swipe all day. So I've seen women's inboxes. There is no way a woman could message every single guy that talks to them. There's just no way. And there's no way they can evaluate them on a personality level. So they need a filter. And their filter has to be something they can see visually. You know, so what are you going to filter on? You're going to filter on height. You're going to filter on lifestyle. You're going to filter on the things that you can see because there's 1,000 people in your DMs and you're saying, I'll just do the 100 guys who are tall and rich and I'll find one of them's got to be good, right? The problem is if you don't pass that filter in the West, it's very hard to get even into to have a girl get to know you. And she's just bombarded with attention as well. So I think there's 2 groups that fell out of that. Red pill. And sort of like red pill guys are more like, I'm going to do everything I can to become that 6-figure guy. And then I get the girls. And then passport bro is like, I want to go to a place where this necessarily isn't the culture. And to be honest, as a foreigner in another country, you do need less game. I mean, it's just the way it is. Like you will get, even if you're a little bit awkward, they can put that on, oh, maybe it's a cultural thing, or maybe, you know, I give you the benefit of the doubt and you will be a 6-figure dude. Like, and it's okay for the women of those countries as well to prefer a man who's 6 figures. So you will pass the filter. Like if you go to Tinder in Colombia and they can tell you're an American guy, you will pass that woman's filter because she'll be like, okay, let's see what he's about. Where in the States, you know, you're not going to be getting matches. You're not going to be passing filters. So it's true that I can't lie to you. It's so much easier to date in some of these countries than it is in the West. So I'm sure that's part of it. But not every guy is necessarily not getting girls. It's more like maybe you want a Colombian supermodel or something. Or so, like, you know what I mean? Like maybe you're shallow and you just want like a beautiful woman from Colombia. You're not going to find that in the States. Or you won't pass that woman's filter in the States.
Okay.
But you can
Now,
talk.
let me ask you this question.
I have a question.
Yeah,
what
sure.
What makes a pass? Like figures, 6 figures? Like,
Yeah.
why do they fail?
Like why do the passes fail? Or why do the men in America fail?
Yeah, like why aren't these women responding to these men?
That's a great question.
Like, is it because they have bad personality or?
Well, it could be that as well, but I think there are so many matches and so much attention being spread out on social media. It's advantageous as a man to just cast a wide net leveraging technology to where if a woman's on a dating app and we don't do the things necessarily in Korea, you were saying there's like, sometimes you make a shout out to your friend, find me a boyfriend, and all your friends start looking and they bring you guys.
But out of those men though, who do women pick?
They pick out of the 6-figure guys. There's a thing in America, you have to be over 6 foot, make over 6 figures, and there's another 6-pack or something.
Now that all sounds like a condition to me.
Yeah, right? Exactly. So they're mad that they have conditions that literally we can't, a lot of them, average man can't meet a lot of these high standards. And less men are having sex in America than ever when it's the most sexually promiscuous. And I think what's happening is the guys who pass the filter get all the sex and then they treat the women bad. And then women give advice to men, but they're giving advice to guys looking for advice from women. They're talking to men they don't even notice. So a woman's like, why aren't you guys just more sensitive and like caring and like, I want you to text me all the time. Guys watching that video are not the guys they're talking about. Those are the guys looking for women. So they start behaving that way. It was a vicious cycle that probably happened over years, but here's the state we are in now. And I think.
And here's my rebuttal to that as an older guy. If you don't know, I was married 16 years. I got married at 21 and I got divorced at 39. So here I am at 39 going into the dating world at 2016. And I dated till I met my fiance in 2020. So I had a very successful dating life. I didn't know what I was doing. I had fun with dating apps and I did meet a lot of those toxic women. And I dated a couple of them because they were baddies. And every guy wants to walk into the bar with the hottest woman and get the attention. It's like a stupid ego boost. So I've dated those toxic women and they never lasted. And I'm not 6 foot. I'm only 5'9". I make a lot of money. I own my own house. I'm doing well for myself. Right. And I don't have a 6-pack. I have a dad bod. And I had a great dating life. It's all personality in my opinion. And when I hear men say you need to pass a filter, again, everybody has preferences, but the way I see it, if a woman's only looking for height and abs and money, why would you want to get into a relationship where money is a big factor? Now, of course, money in a career is important, right? We want somebody who's got their shit together and a good career business, right? If they're making 6 figures or not, as long as they have a good plan, a good job, that's all we care about. But why would you want to pursue or want a woman who's only looking at your income?
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
And, as you get older, looks fade. No one can keep abs forever. I'm 45, trust me. And jobs, you can get laid off. So let's say something happens and you medically can't keep up with the 6-pack. You have your height, but let's say you get laid off. COVID ruined a lot of people's businesses and jobs. Is that woman going to still stay with you? And why do you want that if it's so artificial and so materialistic is what I tell a lot of young men. And then when I hear them say, I can't pass filters on Instagram, I'm like, well, don't hook up on Instagram. Go organically. Back in the day in the 90s, we used to go to places and we needed to have game and approach them and be charming and make them laugh.
Yeah.
Dance. Women love men who can dance. So that's how you approach women. And I think a lot of guys are missing that element. They think the only route is apps or Instagram, which works for some, like you just called out. But there's another way to meet women like you. You're probably walking around every country, meeting people organically, shaking their hands, and introducing yourself, right? I think a lot of men are forgetting that part.
No, that's a great rebuttal, honestly. And if a passport bro thinks that they can just show up in a country and find a baddie and it's going to work out, that's not.
I'm an American. Here's my passport. Where are the women at, right?
Exactly. That's like not going to happen. And I honestly think no passport bro is perfect, and I'm all for men improving themselves. And I think a lot of like working on yourself will translate into dating, whether it is mostly your communication skills. If I were to give advice for young men, I was like, just be able to talk to someone and get your point across. And then when you're meeting people, they can learn who you are in a digestible way. But I see what you're saying, and I understand the stigma against passport bros as well, because, you know, our stigma is that we're poor, that we don't got game, and that, we have to go overseas to get laid. But passport bros see other passport bros that are actually doing it as having money, as being like, who can travel? Like, it's weird. The passport bros stigma is like passport bros sort of who are doing it and passport bros who want to do it. But in order to be able to fund this lifestyle, you're going to have to work on yourself to get money. So what I promote a lot on my TikTok is getting people into good fields. Like, I have partnerships with tech companies and partnerships with getting your certificate. If your goal in life is to find a partner, you should probably get your career in check as well. And if you want to find a partner overseas, you should probably get a career that has remote work. So I don't think the passport is the end goal. You get your passport, I'm set. I think there's a lot of steps, but I can't deny that the passport is a good amplifier of being able to find someone that you're looking, that, you know, that meets your requirements, whether you're looking for something traditional, whether you're looking for a look, whether you have like, you like women who look a certain way or who behave a certain way. It's an important amplifier, but it's not everything.
Okay. I have to ask a guy question. What country has the most beautiful women?
I can't exactly be to me, right? So I think men, you can go to a country where 7 out of 10 women you will think is beautiful, which is a beautiful thing. Like, you can arrive, like, I think in Korea, it's 95% Korean, right? And Korean women are beautiful. They dress so nice, and a lot of them take really good care of themselves. They're very feminine. And so if you're into that, you will see a ton of beautiful women here.
And Marianne, let me ask Marianne a question here. So would you say there's a lot of traditional women in Korea?
That's interesting. It depends how you define traditional. So
let's talk about that. Let's define a traditional. What is a traditional woman in your mind?
Traditional women in Korea would be just staying at home wives and cooking meals and looking after children and just doing the house chores. Nowadays there are less and less traditional women because of, time, and more women focus on their careers. But I think even so, from the Western point of view, those women can be traditional. If that makes sense.
Okay. It does. Part of the other piece of traditional woman is a woman who doesn't have a high body count. So, like, is it frowned upon in Korea that a woman be promiscuous before marriage, or she's like, is that part of the culture, or is that non-existent?
No, that perception really, really does exist.
Okay.
Yeah, it does, and even living with exes before marriage, living together is it's a negative thing. If you ask a US guy, if you tell a US guy, I used to live with my boyfriend, that's, you'd be like, obviously, it would be weird if you have never lived with your ex. But in Korea, that's not as a common thing. It's kind of a negative thing for women.
So there's no eloping in Korea. You can elope.
Put in.
So I'm sorry. When you say living with an ex, does that mean living without being married, or like you had a relationship, you broke up? Also, you have to be married to live together. Is what you're saying.
Living before marriage. A lot of couples do it, but a lot of couples will also not want to talk about it. Or it's like, not an obvious thing that you have to go through. Like a lot of couples get married.
Okay. I had said elope, that's what people do in the U.S. If they're not married, they live together, and they're living together before they get married, they're eloping.
Right.
Or living in sin if you're Catholic.
I see. In Korea, if you live together, that means you're basically married. And if you break up, that means you're basically divorced. That's the perception, kind of,
What do the Korean men think about the American men that are now coming in? Do they have this maybe anger, like they're taking our women? Is there any kind of animosity toward this new boom? Because as Austin said, and as I'm seeing on social media, it is growing. It's becoming a big movement.
You know what's funny? I think Korean men are more hostile to Korean women about that. So
In what way? Like you're betraying us or something
a
like that?
little bit
What do you
like
mean?
slut shaming. So rather than attacking Western men, that arrow would go towards a woman.
I think American women are doing the same thing to passport bros. Like passport bros are now being attacked by American women.
I haven't seen that yet. I wouldn't doubt it.
Yeah.
But I haven't seen that yet. I've seen some videos where like there's women really just in the black community, really, because they're just like saying they're really upset that they're leaving. And then, the black community is like, well, you left us no choice. Look at who you were. You're not feminine. We want feminine women. So going back, Marianne, to the Korean men. So is it the same stigma that a woman would have living with an ex or being promiscuous before marriage? Are Korean men now like seeing Korean women in a similar stigma if they dated an American man?
I don't understand the question. Sorry.
You could rephrase it, actually.
Yeah, let me try to rephrase that. So I guess, like you said, they're looking at you like you're betraying us or having that type of feeling if Korean women are dating American men. Let's say that relationship didn't work out, right? Mm-hmm. Maybe a couple of years and you divorced or you broke up. Does that woman now have a stigma with Korean men? Like, oh, she dated an American man, don't touch her. Is that type of stigma happening? I hope not.
Not all, but I think certainly some guys would feel,
Really?
Feel that, yeah. So a lot of some part, like not all Korean men, I don't want to say all, some like there are,
right.
But Korean women, some Korean women who have had an international experience abroad, like whether they were working or whether they were studying abroad, Korean men will say like, she's been
corrupted.
Yeah.
Corrupted. Yeah. Or take, yeah. Okay.
Like
okay.
Is there a name in Korean? Is there like a Korean phrase for it?
I can't think of one,
okay.
but yeah.
Austin, how long have you been doing this? 3 years, you said?
Yeah, 3 years.
And what countries have you traveled to?
I've traveled to Spain, Brazil, Colombia, Mexico, Indonesia, the Philippines, South Korea, and Costa Rica.
Okay, so it's fair to say you're experienced and a world traveler.
Yeah,
so
I'm building it up.
That's awesome, dude. And again, I applaud you for being young and doing that. That's what everybody I feel should do. What are some of the realities that you think some of these passport bros who think, I'm going to get a passport, like we touched on, like, hey, here's my passport, I'm an American, all the women are going to flock to me. What are some of the realities and maybe dangers that you would tell young men that they should be on the lookout for before, traveling?
Absolutely. And I talk about it on my channel too, is that your stereotype is that you're rich. And that comes with maybe some perks of like women might be curious, like if they are into money, but also that the locals know that too. Local men, local women who are after money. You stick out. And this is mostly in South America, maybe the Philippines, in other countries where the US dollar goes very far, or maybe socioeconomically they're not. So you don't go there and flash your money around. I would that's one of the worst things to do. And a lot of American men have that culture in them because in the American clubs, you go attract a woman, you kind of flash your money around, right? You wear your nice clothes. You go outside with your watch on and your nice dress shirt. Do not do that. It was
my dance moves, not the.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Don't do that out in South America. They will get attention. It's called giving papaya in Spanish. You're giving papaya, and it's like you're asking them to rob you. You're basically offering, like you're making yourself known. And another thing is, let's say you are the dude just going overseas to find a baddie. The baddest girl you can find. If that's your fail, if you're going to go and just swipe on Tinder and like, I'm going to date the hottest girl I match with. Mm-hmm. That girl is doing the same thing back to you. Like it's a two-way street. She is going to be fetishizing your money. Or if you weren't getting that girl in the state, I feel like you can date comfortably about like maybe 2 points or something above that, because there are people who are into Western men and there's not a lot of Western men around. So you might be, if she likes dark hair and doesn't like, she has a thing for Western guys, you will be able to, dating's easier. because you're just one of the few ones that are there. But if she's a 10 and you're a 5, like you have to be honest with yourself. What is happening? Like there's a range where you should be questioning, and some people are into that. Some people want a sugar baby. Oh, you know, there are dudes out there who just want to pay for a girl's lifestyle, and there's girls who want a guy to pay for their lifestyle. So I don't judge. Like I said, find your happiness. You live once, guys, and picking a partner is probably one of the most important decisions you can make. So I don't mind you going overseas for it.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, calling American women trash, or any women trash, or any guys like shady. I don't think that's very nice. Just do whatever makes you happy, you know. And if both parties are happy, then that's all that matters, right?
Yeah, I think the Passport Bros are making the mistake of talking about how shitty American women are, where they should just go do it and live a life. But I think it's also,
I got thousands of comments that say that all American women are trash, and it's
I think they're hurt by it.
Like, why? Because they're independent, or like why? Why are they trash?
Well, I'll answer, then I'll let Austin answer, because maybe you'll get two different perspectives here. But from what I've seen, there are a lot of American women who aren't traditional. When we say traditional, they're not feminine. They're very masculine and very aggressive. A lot of them are career women and own businesses, and good for them, right? They want to be successful in what they do. Perfect. But they come with this very aggressive type of personality. And men, you know, men all over the world, I don't care where you are, when you're working or out there, you're battling the world, and you want to come home to a sanctuary. You want to come home to your partner who's going to be at your side, not be arguing with you or being confrontational with you. Not to say disagreements don't happen, but we don't want to come home with that personality. A lot of women nowadays don't cook or don't know how to cook. They don't have those feminine attributes that is lacking. They're present here. Like I said, my fiance, she's a very feminine woman. She's one of the first. And that's why I put a ring on it. Like, oh, I'm not letting you go. I found peace, and she's a wonderful, educated, amazing woman. And that gave me peace. No woman could ever give me that. I've had baddies and all that, but that was always a toxic relationship. So that's more or less what they're saying women don't have. And plus, they're promiscuous. Body count is a big deal. Now, when you get older like me, you don't care about that. But if I put my mind as a young man, I'm thinking, okay, everyone's promiscuous, but I don't want you to have more than me. Or it's maybe have less than me. As a matter of fact, a lot of the comments in my TikTok, and you're more than welcome. I just sent you a friend request, Marianne. So you're more than welcome to look at the Passport comments. A lot of them saying they're looking for purity. And I'm like, okay, so you're the type of man who believes not to have sex before marriage. Ha, ha, ha. No, purity on her, not for me. I'm like, oh, so it's okay for you to go put, you know what, and everything, but she can't touch anybody. Okay, bro, good luck with that. So that's more or less to answer your question. What's your response?
No, I think it's great. Well, I want to touch in, I think something that Marianne might not know about is like, what came first in the comment sections of American social media? Women are trash, or men ain't shit, or I don't need a man. I think for the past, men ain't shit, I don't need a man. All that's been going on for a long, long time. So I think men have been trying to become and pass these or whatever. Like, I think a lot of men gave it a good shot. Like, a lot of these men grew up in America. They weren't saying women are trash from when they were 13 years old, 15 years old. I think their experiences have made them say that. And also women are calling them, they ain't shit. I think we're all just yelling at each other. There's a huge fight going on between the genders of America.
Gender war. It's horrible.
Wow.
For
me, it just sounds like, those independent women, career driven, they're amazing. So they just need to find somebody. If they don't cook, they just need to find a guy who likes to cook, or,
Yeah.
And vice versa. So
everyone find who they want.
But some men may see, I'm not going to cook. That's a female role.
Oh, no.
I'm supposed to be the breadwinner. I'm supposed to be the alpha. It's my castle. I want my queen. There's some guys, not all guys, but some.
This is really interesting that we just actually talked about today, is that American men might come to Korea to look for more tradition, and that Korean woman might look at that American man as less traditional. So, you guys might be meeting in the middle somewhere because you think Korean traditional has very different rules. So you could be like, wow, his rules are less traditional.
Yes. For example, like being involved with the laws. calling the in-laws every day or every week, or looking after them, or the family commitment. Yeah, I don't think is as important in the West.
Okay, so that's a good point. If you don't mind me asking, Marianne, what is a traditional man from, I guess, a Korean woman standpoint?
Just like how you described, like women should cook or women should, yeah. So I think there's,
like,
I think as much as like there's a division in America, there's a lot of division between Korean men and Korean women too.
So it's the same?
It's the same, yeah.
Wow. Isn't that amazing? Wow. That's amazing.
But we don't follow certain rules.
I think expectations of a traditional Korean men are higher than, for example, like you're happy to have cereal or toast for breakfast. A traditional Korean man might want like a full rice, side dishes, soup kind of breakfast, which they're expecting a traditional woman to do. Yeah. Right. Whereas, not so traditional women will be happy to provide cereal or toast.
I think American men maybe are so craving some tradition maybe that like even the smaller efforts will be seen as pretty traditional. Yeah. Where in Korea you feel like you'd have to be extra traditional to be considered a traditional woman.
Yeah, it'd be like, oh, you're grateful for that? That's all. Yeah.
But it's also interesting because the conversation has kind of been one-sided, because if American men are going overseas to look for a traditional woman, what if they're not a traditional man in that country's eyes?
Yeah.
Then they're not successful. I mean, they're going to have the same problem, because whatever that attribute or behavior is, they're still going to have that problem. So that's a valid point that I never thought of. So, wow.
And women who are into Western men often view them as less traditional when they arrive. Okay. But also their tradition's very strict. So as a traditional man in America, you're saying I'm a traditional man because I I'm the breadwinner and you're the stay-at-home wife. That's what they, they're like, that's good enough. Like he's meeting my requirements for a traditional man.
Right. And again, roles vary. My fiance and I kind of go like with the 50-50 route, since I'm an older guy, and that's perfectly fine. Yeah. We accept certain roles, and it's worked out beautifully with us. But I get how some men want that, and I hope they do find it. And it's a shame they couldn't find it in the U.S. And I'm sure, like I said, there's plenty of traditional women here. It's unfortunate that a lot of them, and I've asked a lot of them, like, how many years of experience have you dated? And a lot of them are 19, and now they're 22. I'm like, that's it? And you're like, all women are trash on 2 years of dating? Dude, come on.
Yeah.
Leave Houston. Go to Dallas. Go somewhere else, man.
Well, I started traveling. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No. Go ahead.
I wish I started traveling sooner. So I'm in a weird case where I'm like, I want to get these guys out of country for a bunch of different reasons. And it's almost like, if your reasons are shallow, you say you're a man, you dream of a beautiful woman. The man you have to become to get that woman, the stages you're going to have to grow and progress as a man.
Yes.
It's okay to have that shallow goal, because it's going to grow you as a man. And then once you get it, you can understand it's, there's not a whole lot there. But get it first. It's like a lot of people saying more money, more problems, or money doesn't solve happiness. Tell it to get rich first. Don't tell it to a poor person. Like, go, get it and then learn from it. So I think anything to get young men to travel. Young Americans in general need to travel. So I'm like, hey, go travel.
Yeah, like not just travel for women, just travel for, like, there's so much cultural, diversity, it's so different.
Yeah.
I've traveled, and, in the UK, Europe, US, completely different sense of humor, culture, and all that. Yeah.
Yes.
It's wonderful. And Asia is all, like, totally different as well. It just widens
Yeah, I've never been, but I definitely do want to travel, to see the world differently. And I think a lot of men, I think people need to do that in general, because a lot of times I feel like as an American, I'm in San Antonio, so I'm about 4 hours from Mexico. So, and I'll get to that in a bit, but I think a lot of people are kind of like caught up in their own bubble. and think their world is just that. But it's so diverse and it's so beautiful if they just kind of went maybe 1,000 miles out of their home and just traveled the country. Not in Cancun doesn't necessarily count going across the country, traveling abroad, and you go to other countries. Mm-hmm. But like I think a lot of the misconception is a lot of young men think that finding a traditional woman may end up being like the answer to their problems, and I don't think that may be the case sometimes. Let me kind of explain. Again, I'm in San Antonio. It's a military city. A lot of men are coming from overseas with foreign wives, right? And then there's a lot of men here in San Antonio who said, I'm tired of this. I'm going to go to Mexico and find me a beautiful traditional woman who's going to cook for me and do this. And this has been going on for years, a long time. And some of the danger stories I've heard from cousins and family members who've done that, a lot of times they get hustled. A lot of times they go to Mexico, they do find a beautiful woman, she's wonderful, all that, but then she gets married, and then there's the green papers, and now she's a legal American citizen. She just kind of went through a loophole and didn't have to go through 13 months of citizenship. She's now an American citizen with rights, benefits, insurance. So what did she do? She brings her entire family from Mexico over to his house. They're all living in his place, taking care of him, and then she becomes, I guess, quote unquote Americanized. I don't know if that's the case or not, but in some cases, she then divorces him and takes his house and everything. So now her whole family is uprooted to Mexico. In the U.S., they have a home, and now she's got child support and alimony. Yeah. So there are some long game people out there who know the long game, and I don't think a lot of young men understand that. They have to be careful. Have you seen any stories like that?
Well, I've been able to detect it, and I always tell guys, like, trust your gut instinct. And
ooh, you say detected, like what red flags did you see?
Red flags are moving really, really fast. Like as far as trying to talk about marriage, talk about kids, talk about any of that. That's not a normal date 3. That's not, there's a goal at the end of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And consistency as well. And it's okay to I think people's instincts are pretty well. If it's too good to be true, then it probably is.
Yeah,
I bet there is.
I think those instincts sometimes get clouded when they have a beautiful woman telling them that I want to marry you.
I think
and we lose our mind.
The biggest temptresses, I would say, Colombian women. Be careful sometimes with Colombian women because they know the game. They will play the game. But they're beautiful, traditional, amazing Colombian women as well. I'm just saying. And that's another part of growing as a man is your communication skills and building up, being able to detect that thing and trusting that. But it's scary. It's scary to bring her over and have her take all your stuff, and it's definitely. But that could happen in America.
It definitely happens.
A woman in America could do the same thing. Mm-hmm. So
and it's funny you mentioned. I asked you what are the red flags, and you mentioned common sense things that they bring up marriage or kids too soon. That's a red flag in the dating space here. So it's the same kind of red flags to look out for. But I guess you go into a different world, you maybe be lost in the culture and just kind of forget about it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's funny. You're saying this is talking totally opposite of Passport Bros. I hope you like this. Something's happening with white women or Western women coming to Korea where they're getting confused about the culture and moving too fast. And you could probably speak on this. Yeah. And a lot of them are getting hurt by Koreans.
Yeah.
Well, explain, what have you seen?
So a lot of Western girls come to Korea and they find a really nice Korean guy and he wants to, become, have her as his girlfriend and then afterwards gets ghosted or after they, and they don't understand these things. And Korea, so they just,
get their heart broken.
Yeah, get their heart broken. And it's very common for Korean guys to ask somebody out or say things like "I love you" after a few weeks. It's just a Korean relationship kind of stage is very different, and these Korean men have the wrong ideas in the Western women. So they ask really horrendous questions. I don't like that. And they would never do that to Korean women, but they would do that to Western women.
And also in Korea, you have to date before you hook up. So they're like, let's be boyfriend and girlfriend, I love you, because you almost need to be a boyfriend and girlfriend to hook up.
Yeah.
But as a Western girl, she's so it's almost like it's really hard to get a man to commit to you like that. So she's so excited. She's like, I have a Korean boyfriend.
You become boyfriend and girlfriend first.
Before sex, before anything.
Yeah, that's very common.
And how long is again, I'm asking because I don't know, and every culture is probably different, but how long is that courting process? Like to say, like, I've dated you long enough, now we're official. Does that take months? Is there any, like, you have to meet my father? Is there any type of, I guess, customs like that?
You don't meet each other's parents unless you're thinking about getting married. So you don't. Okay. Yeah, you don't go around each other's houses either. That phase of talking, and we call it some, and usually it would last for about 3 weeks, and then you become boyfriend and girlfriend usually.
Oh, okay. And it's funny. And again, I'm learning a lot. Thank you, Marianne, for being on here. But a lot of American men tend to like drop out. And again, not all American men, right? But like they say, if they don't at least hook up within the first few dates, they drop them. And, you know, you're wasting my time. You're wasting my money. I'm spending money on these dates and I'm out of here. So a lot of young men are impatient when it comes to that courting process. They want to hook up right away. Right.
Yeah. I kind of understand that because I lived in the UK for a long time. So I am, like, you know, used to the Western culture as well as the Korean culture as well. It's just a different process, you know. There's no right or wrong. You know, some people might think it's really important to get to know each other before you become official boyfriend and girlfriends and have that committed relationship. For some, and I found that a lot in my TikTok. There are a lot of other people from other countries saying, like, you know, living before marriage is a crime, or apparently it's illegal in Indonesia.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Sex before marriage is illegal in Indonesia. They're trying to make it.
Yeah, apparently, yeah.
Wow.
Apparently so. I only found that out from all the comments.
That is interesting.
So you find all these really interesting and different views. So I think it's very important. At the end of the day, like, it's what you believe, and you can't say something's wrong or something's right. It's just your own belief. And that's what I...
Okay, wow.
Yeah, good. Well said.
That is something else. That's something else. Like, I guess I can, from the American side over here, I did notice, because again, I'm older, I dated in the 90s, and it was very similar to what you just said, Marianne. Like, you had to date somebody, take them to dinner before anything like hooking up, right? There was like a courting process, right? I was shocked at 2016 how sexually aggressive women were. And I'm like, I'm not complaining. I've been with the same woman 20 years. So I had my fun, but I was amazed how aggressive they were. And sometimes we hooked up the first date on the way to the movie. And I'm like, okay, we're going to go. Okay, sure. But I remember, like, okay, I'm going to roll with this. So the culture is very sexual here in the States. And there's like this woman's, I guess, liberation, or maybe women's movement that, you know, they can finally do what they want with their bodies. And, you know, for us men, we can't speak to that because we get canceled. Yeah. But I can see why, I don't know about purity, but I can see why a guy wouldn't want a woman who's not as promiscuous. I think everybody, man or woman, would want that. Who wants to marry somebody who's been with hundreds of people? And that seems to be the normal body count for young adults. I had a woman on my podcast, Angela Knight, and she's 28, and a lot of her friends are in their 20s, early 20s, and they have body counts at least in the hundreds.
Yeah.
100 men before 25. And I'm like, I got married at 22. My body count was 2. I can't imagine having 100 partners at such a young age.
I might get canceled for this opinion, but I have a weird opinion on it that I'd like to say of like,
if you want to say
so women were sexually oppressed for a long time. Like, we have to give it, like, there were so many rules about women's sexual oppression. And now I feel like now that there's more liberation, they don't want to hear any consequences. It's like, I'm done with your consequences. Those are just tied to patriarchy. But I think men understand sex has consequences, even pornography, right? If a man watches too much pornography, he can lose his interest in his wife, or he can not, you know, but and a woman can get sex so easy. If she treats men who want to sleep with her as pornography, her porn is some dude in her house that doesn't care about her, that's going to fuck her and leave her. And it could be the hottest guy she can find, but he's not into that girl. So there are real consequences to it. And I'm not going to slut shame at all. I'm just saying we're doing young women a disservice by saying you're sexually free. Anyone that tells you there's anything wrong with that is wrong. And I think, they're getting a little bit misled.
But I think biologically as well, like biologically, women are at higher chance of getting, cervical cancer or HPVs, or they can get pregnant.
Yeah, that's a big one.
I think, yeah. And they have to go through the whole process if they want to have a baby, if they want to get abortion. It's women's body that, unfortunately, I think gets a bit more harmed than men.
I agree. I agree. Awesome. Before we wrap up, I have another question. Since we're on the topic of sex, again, in the comments that I saw, and again, I'm just referencing those comments, there are guys going to get laid and hook up, and like going on a sex parade. I'm going to travel the world and hook up with all these women. Realistically, like speaking for myself, I would be terrified to sleep with anybody. and again, because STDs, getting somebody pregnant, and I'm in another country, how are you going to handle that, right? Is abortion even an option in some of these countries? Like, there's so many consequences to sex, and that's one thing I see as an older man. I see all these channels on how to hook up with girls and how to get laid, but no one talks about the damn consequences of getting herpes or getting a woman pregnant. No one ever talks about, okay, you got her pregnant, here's how to be a father. No one talks about that.
Yeah.
Nobody. So what are some of the, I guess, how do I ask this? Some of the consequences or dangers in some countries if you are promiscuous with some women. I mean, think about it in the U.S. If she says no, of course, and you're still in the act, that's considered rape. So it's a very fine line of being cautious and listening to consent.
Yeah.
So how is it in other countries out there?
I went through this phase of like a lot of people called me, like a sex tourist or something. And it was, I'm a single guy traveling the world and I want to have fun. So I am going to be hooking up. But I think it's all about how you go about it, right? There are women in these countries who want to have fun, who just want to have fun as well. There are women who are looking for something more, and you can't abuse that. You can't promise them citizenship or be like, giving things that they want and then using that to leverage to get sex. I think that's a really shitty move, and I think anyone doing that is acting shitty. And yeah, some of these countries, they don't have Plan B, or it's illegal. Abortion's illegal. They don't have that, so you have to be careful, protect yourself. But everyone lives once. It's your body, and I think it's more connection quality over quantity as well. Like, I take girls on dates sometimes just to learn about the culture. Like, if you're a man dating overseas, really take the opportunity to have her show you important things about their culture and their life. And, when you first date someone, they share their life story, and it's really, really cool and amazing when their book begins in a totally different place than yours. And I'm on the edge because I love dating overseas and I love meeting new people. And I am a single guy and I'm kind of having this moment in my life. But also, you can go about it a slimy way. I think it's just how you go about that. And of course, protect yourself. Wear condoms, and and be careful. Get places with security if you're in places in South America. Women will take stuff from you. I've had one instance where a woman took something from me. So they could
like robbed you, or
they didn't rob me, but they just took things from my Airbnb. Like, spent the night and something went missing, and I'm very highly suspicious. But I'm gonna say be careful. I'm gonna say be careful.
Yeah, because I can imagine there's dangers. Like, I can imagine there's some men out there who think it's just free game. I'm going to sleep with whoever and maybe get arrested for rape. And they're now in a foreign jail. Have you heard of stories like that?
I have not heard of stories like that happening. The more common thing, I think, honestly, it's sad but true. But actually, I don't even want to put that information out there. But I think it's harder than you think in other countries to accuse someone of that. But what's more common is a thing called scopolamine. And there's more guys get drugged on dates than women in Colombia. There's a drug called scopolamine where they literally blow it in your face or put it in your drink, and you become super submissive. It's made from a flower that grows in the area, and they'll walk you to your ATM. I saw
that Vice special. It's called The Devil's Dust, right? Or something like that. I saw the special on Vice. Like you lose 8 hours and they just rob you, but you're totally conscious and you can move around.
They'll be like, open up your Venmo. Give me your PayPal. Send me all
There's a
the
great
money,
YouTube video
and
on
you
it.
just do it.
Yeah.
That's why it's important. But honestly, you can tell, so I tell my men when they go on dates, never say you're traveling in the country alone. Say you might be meeting up with friends later. Share your location, and guys get upset with me. They're like, I don't want to be doing all that. I'm like, welcome to dating as a woman anywhere in the world. Like, you have to, right? Like, we can, as a man, you can kind of be a little frivolous with your dating, but if you're dating overseas, just follow the same rules women have to follow, and it'll make you a lot safer. Good.
And I have a final question for both of you, and I'll start with Marianne. To all the American women who are listening and who have a stigma about the passport bros, and again, from you being a woman overseas in Korea, like, what would you want to tell American women about the passport bros, and from your perspective?
I feel like they're just doing what's best for them, really. If it is their choice, and it's up to them to be robbed or get drugged or
if they start being done with it.
Yeah. If they're really looking for a genuine partner, wherever it is, it doesn't have to be in America. Like, it can be somewhere else. It doesn't have to be in Colombia. It doesn't have to be, you never know where you're going to find your partner. Same, like, for American women too, like, they could find their partner in Colombia, in Philippines.
Right.
Yeah. And same for, the guys who are calling American women trash. I don't think that's nice. Just because they are focused in their career. Yeah. I think we should all be nice to each other.
Okay. Yes. I mean, again, going with that attitude, I think anybody who has that type of hatred or animosity, we've all been around people who have that negative vibe. And I'm sure no matter where you're at, what country you're in, no one wants to be around somebody who carries anger in them.
I think
it's just a horrible...
If that's what makes these passport bros happy, it's on them,
Yeah.
And if that's what makes the, women in other countries, if they want to marry these passport bros, it's because they want to. They see something in them that American women don't see, and that's not.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Okay, and Austin, again, I'll close out with you. Last question: what would you want the world to know about the passport bros movement? Again, we talked about the stigmas, but to all the women, like I said, who have like this American women have this animosity toward them, what would you like to tell the world about the actual passport bros? And
I think, like every movement, it's a big movement. There are bad actors in the movement, and there are good actors in the movement. And unfortunately, people like to call out, and the bad actors go viral more than the good. So I think not every person willing to go overseas to date with people they find better connections with, or whatever your reasons are, not everyone's a bad person. Finding your life partner is one of the biggest decisions of your life. And I think it's between you and your partner, and you should be allowed to do it. And I just wish that more people saw the passport bros as someone willing to just give themselves the best chance, and not necessarily trash women or go over to them and over leverage it or be shitty.
They should certainly not brag about it, because I've seen TikTok videos of them just holding up. Yeah,
exactly. I think, and I honestly think those people are probably responding to men ain't shit or men are trash. I think it's like when you get poked fun at, you want to poke fun back. But yeah.
All right. And again, everybody, thank you so much for being on podcast. Marianne, it was a pleasure to meet you. This was a pleasant surprise. Pleasure to meet you. Tell everybody where they can find you. Like, what are your social media handles?
It's English Korea. I've started doing that TikTok. I talk about cultural differences and all things Korea related. So yeah, you can find me there on TikTok.
Awesome. And also, where can people find you?
Digital Bromad. Digital_Bromad on TikTok, and the Digital Bromad on Instagram.
I've spoken to many people, and this was one of the best conversations I've ever had on the podcast. And I really do appreciate both of your insights and perspectives. I think this is going to really give everybody a different perspective on the passport bros. And again, giving light to young men like you you both that, hey, there's wonderful people out there with, good mindsets that are really just trying to explore cultures and just meet other people. So I think it's a wonderful thing. And I thank you both for your time.
Thank you so much, Rudy.
Thank you so much.